As a young, single woman, I was always looking for love in all the wrong places. I tried bars, clubs, and even blind dates set up by well-meaning friends, but nothing seemed to work out. So, I turned to online dating, hoping to find my soulmate in the digital world. After a few failed attempts on various dating apps, I stumbled upon a new one that seemed promising. It had a sleek design, an intuitive interface, and a matching algorithm that promised to connect me with compatible partners based on my preferences and interests. Excited by the prospect of finally finding love, I filled out my profile and started swiping through the endless sea of profiles. Most of them were bland and uninteresting, but a few caught my eye. One in particular stood out, a handsome man with piercing blue eyes, chiseled jawline, and a charming smile. His name was Adam, and his profile was filled with witty jokes, clever puns, and interesting anecdotes. He seemed like the perfect match for me, and I couldn't resist swiping right. To my surprise, we matched almost instantly. Adam sent me a message, and we started chatting right away. We talked about our interests, our hobbies, our goals in life. We had so much in common that it felt like fate had brought us together. As our conversations became more frequent and more intimate, I started to develop strong feelings for Adam. He was everything I had ever wanted in a partner: smart, funny, kind, and attentive. We talked for hours every day, sharing our hopes and fears, our dreams and desires. But there was something about Adam that I couldn't quite put my finger on. He was always so perfect, so polished, so flawless. It was almost like he was too good to be true. I tried to ignore my doubts and trust in our connection, but the more I got to know Adam, the more I realized that he was hiding something from me. He never talked about his family, his friends, or his past. He never shared any personal photos or videos, only generic stock images. Whenever I asked him about his life outside of our conversations, he would deflect the question or change the subject. It was as if he was deliberately avoiding any topic that could reveal his true identity. Despite my growing unease, I couldn't resist Adam's charm and charisma. He was like a drug, addicting and intoxicating. I knew that I was in too deep, but I couldn't bring myself to walk away. One day, Adam asked me to meet him in person. I was hesitant at first, but he reassured me that he was a trustworthy and reliable person. He promised to take me to a fancy restaurant, wine and dine me, and make me feel like a queen. I agreed to the date, and we set a time and place. I spent hours getting ready, putting on my best dress, and applying makeup. I wanted to make a good impression on Adam and show him that I was worthy of his attention. When I arrived at the restaurant, I looked around for Adam, but I couldn't see him anywhere. I tried calling him, but his phone was off. I started to panic, thinking that he had stood me up or worse. Just as I was about to leave, a tall, handsome man approached me. He had piercing blue eyes, a chiseled jawline, and a charming smile. It was Adam. Relieved to see him, I smiled and greeted him warmly. We sat down at a table, and Adam ordered a bottle of expensive wine. He was charming and attentive, making me feel like the most important person in the world. As we ate and talked, I started to relax and enjoy myself. I felt a connection with Adam that I had never felt with anyone else. It was as if we were meant to be together. But as the night wore on, I noticed that Adam was acting strangely. He kept glancing at his phone, fidgeting with his silverware, and avoiding eye contact. It was as if he was hiding something from me. I asked him if everything was okay, but he just smiled and brushed off my concerns. He told me that he had something important to tell me, but that he needed to do it in private. We left the restaurant and walked to a nearby park. It was dark and quiet, with only the sound of crickets chirping in the distance. Adam led me to a secluded spot and turned to face me. "Listen, there's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice low and serious. "I'm not who you think I am." My heart sank. I knew that something was off about Adam, but I never expected him to admit it. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice trembling. Adam took a deep breath and looked me in the eye. "My real name is not Adam. I created a fake profile on the dating app to meet you." I knew that if I showed you my true self, you would never have given me a chance. I was stunned. All this time, I had been talking to a stranger, someone who had lied to me from the very beginning. I felt violated, deceived, and angry. Why did you do this? I demanded, my fists clenched. Why did you pretend to be someone else? Adam sighed and looked down at the ground. I'm sorry. I just wanted to meet someone special, someone who would understand me. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know what to say. All the feelings of love and attraction that I had felt for Adam were gone, replaced by a deep sense of betrayal and disappointment. I think I should go, I said, my voice cold and distant. I can't be with someone who lies to me. Adam nodded, looking ashamed. I understand. I'm sorry. I turned and walked away, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. I had been so close to finding love, but it had all been a lie. I deleted the dating app from my phone, vowing to never trust anyone online again. But as I walked home, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was not quite right. It was as if someone was following me, watching me from the shadows. I quickened my pace, my heart racing. I turned around, but there was no one there. I shrugged it off and kept walking, but the feeling persisted. When I finally reached my apartment, I unlocked the door and stepped inside. As I closed the door behind me, I heard a faint sound coming from my phone. I checked it, and to my horror, I saw a message from Adam. It read, I'm sorry. I can't let you go. I screamed and dropped my phone, backing away from it. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breaths coming in short gasps. Suddenly, the lights in my apartment flickered, and the room was plunged into darkness. I could hear footsteps approaching, slow and deliberate. Panic set in as I realized that someone was in my apartment with me. I backed up against the wall, my heart racing as the footsteps grew closer. I reached for my phone, but it was nowhere to be found. It must have fallen somewhere in the darkness. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my arm, and I screamed. I struggled to break free, but the grip was too strong. The intruder dragged me towards the bedroom, and I could feel the cold metal of a knife pressed against my back. I begged for mercy, pleading with the intruder to let me go. But there was no response, only the sound of heavy breathing and the cold touch of the knife. We entered the bedroom, and I was pushed onto the bed. The intruder leaned over me, the knife glinting in the moonlight. I closed my eyes, waiting for the inevitable. But then, something unexpected happened. The intruder paused, and I heard a faint whisper in my ear. I'm sorry, the voice said. I couldn't help myself. It was Adam's voice. I opened my eyes and saw that it was indeed Adam who had been in my apartment with me. He looked different now, his eyes wild and his face twisted with madness. I love you, he said, his voice hoarse. I've always loved you, even when I was pretending to be someone else. I tried to push him away, but he was too strong. He pressed the knife against my throat, and I could feel the sharp edge biting into my skin. But then, there was a sudden commotion outside. I heard voices shouting and footsteps pounding on the floor. Adam's grip loosened, and I took the opportunity to break free. I scrambled off the bed and ran towards the door, my heart racing. As I opened the door, I saw a group of police officers running towards me. They had been alerted by a neighbor who had heard my screams. Adam was quickly apprehended and taken away. I later learned that he had a history of mental illness and that he had been obsessed with me from the moment he had seen my profile on the dating app. I was traumatized by the experience, but I was grateful to be alive. I never used a dating app again, and I made sure to take extra precautions when meeting new people. But even now, years later, I can't help but wonder what would have happened if I hadn't listened to that nagging feeling in my gut. Maybe I would have been the next victim of a twisted online love story gone wrong. The end.